because they're appearing on each side. HRE versus Marlian mirror here between 2Good4Wololo and Villager OP. Only the first game of what should be an interesting series.
Yeah, so what Civ combo do you like better here?
I really, honestly, I gotta say, I'm leaning a bit more towards the one on the right, just because I like how they're a bit more uniform in their colors, right? You know, you got the complementary blues.
I see. Okay, I can dig that. But the right team did just lose, so
That's true. But like orange, in fairness as well, orange and red does, that complements as well, right? I guess I'm kind of torn here. I mean, they've both got the color coordination on point. Damn.
yeah, and the Civ coordination as well. So, but in all seriousness, I'm curious what we're gonna see here because HRE Malians, we've been seeing a lot of this, and I feel like today we'll see a bit of a meta advancement on this. Like at the beginning, it was very straightforward. Okay, the HRE goes Burger Paradise, and they spend Man at Arms,
Yeah.
and that's how you win the game. But I feel like today we'll see more people having a counter to that strategy, and then maybe HRE will adapt and play a strategy that counters that one or whatever. Like I think it will not be as straightforward as we have seen in the past. So I'm curious to see how the Malian player will get involved rather than just simply training cows for HRE and giving gold and stuff.
Yeah, I'd hope it has been innovated, right? Evolved, because, I saw this, I think, I want to say 2 weeks ago. First team I saw do it was actually the 2Good4Wololo teams, Crackly, Court, and Lash, in a 3v3. I called it the double cheeseburger strategy. They had 2 HRE players and a Malian. And the guy just went and built mills in their base, spawned beef on repeat, and they had an unlimited burger rate push, which looks pretty strong. But I agree with this logic later. If you think about the way that the Malians function, especially things like the Firimba Garrison, if you start locking in your gold, there should be a way in which you're not just slinging food to your teammate, but then can add your own units into the composition.
Yeah, I think you definitely want to add more to the game than just providing cows and resources. And yeah, we'll see. I could be completely wrong, where it will just be the same old threat.
Yeah.
But
The
I'm
cheeseburger
hoping
strat.
to see some. Exactly, I'm hoping to see some sort of development in it.
And the weird thing is, like, I'm thinking about the permutations in this matchup, right? And the logical thing is, you think, oh, well, what if the Malian player starts pushing Musafadi warriors? I feel like that unit is a bait against the HRE, right? Because if the HRE player adds in 2 or 3 Langsnecht, your Musafadi get chopped up into meat quicker than the cows.
So how will I forgot their name? How will do the Malian archers deal with the men at arms? Because they do have the higher damage, so
They used to be good, right? Because so something like a shadow nerf that happened to the archers, because they got the poison arrows, right? They used to, all their dots would stack. So you'd have like 30 archers, and you'd attack men at arms once, and then you walk away and they just die, right? They just get ill, couldn't get to hospital in time, they're gone. But they nerfed it, right? So I think it's 8 stacks of poison is the maximum that can be applied to a unit now.
okay. But I mean, like just in terms of straight up damage,
Okay.
I think because their damage value is higher than a regular archer, so I feel like with hit and
That's
running,
true.
you should be able to deal with them relatively well.
Yeah, especially considering the men at arms only end up moving at the same speed as archers unless they're charging. So yeah, that might be a fair point, especially if you can play and skirt the edge of the charge range, because one thing to remember is they decrease the range at which charge triggers and increase the duration you charge for, right? So as long as you maintain that threshold, that beautiful distance, it's much harder for a men at arms rush to succeed.
Yeah, but what's definitely really good to do if you're the archer player in a situation like that, you try to go into the direction of the enemy base, because you want to have as much walking distance as possible on the hit and running. You want to start the hit and running as soon as you can, rather than just waiting in your base for him to arrive, and there is no more place to fall back to anymore.
Of course, we already see very early on the familiar sight of Marlian building in an HRE member's base. Cattle's already been pushed out. Now, the reason this is good, by the way, folks, is that the beef has a gathering rate of about 0.8. And of course, an HRE player will buff their gathering rate by 40%. That's absurdly fast. That makes them faster than gathering from shoreline fish with villagers. Interesting detail for you, Artie. Originally, in like earlier phases, the beef had an insanely high gathering rate, like +1. And it was meant to release with 0.9. So I don't know if it was...
Oh, it should have been the same as the board. And...
Yeah, so I don't know like if they changed it again or if there was a whoopsie daisy along the way. But like, how do you feel about this in the current like context? Do you think the cal is good enough as it stands, or do you think it needs to be the boar gathering rate?
It's hard to say because it's like I feel like to a degree sometimes you should have like a different patch for team games and for 1v1 games. Because perhaps this gather rate makes more sense right now in the balance in a 1v1, because Malians might be a little bit weak, but the cows are good enough to make them decent. But now in a team game, all of a sudden they're too good. So I've always liked this idea of having different patches between 1v1 and team, because in team games I feel like they should be a little bit weaker.
Yeah, honestly,
like a boar, like you said. Yeah,
I get what you're saying. It's kind of like the only issue they have with that is it kind of gets confusing for people going between team and 1v1s. But like I'd 100% love to see balancing decisions made around like team games as well. I was kind of thinking like, would it after what you said in the last King of the Hill, would it be a good or bad change if you were able to place a blueprint and your teammate was able to build it?
No, I don't think you should be able to.
Yeah, I can think of one key reason why I think it would be bad. China.
No, but that just means like, let's say blue is H3.
Yeah.
Okay, Corey is actually. And he would just make a blueprint keep in Crackety's base, and Crackety could just build it.
Yes.
Like, that would just be weird.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The Chinese would be the #1 issue with that, right? It's like you could literally have a Chinese player with half his villagers walking around the map, and an HRE player could just be slinging him stone. And you just keep drop, keep drop.
A Mongol player could make walls, I guess. I think there would be a lot of issues with that. I don't see that working out. But anyway, about this game, because there's a lot of interesting things happening.
Wow.
Because Jinmo actually decided to go Ragnitz, which is cool. He didn't go Bird of Paradise. And Crackety and Core are trade booming.
And because Core and Crackety sat back, right, they didn't want any aggression out, it means the Ragnitz is going to get full value. Jinmo will more or less get all these relics for free.
Yeah, but I'm curious about this trade income. Could we have a look at that? Like how much are the traders carrying?
Is he like I want to say he's at like 2 or 3 so far, it feels like. 146 gold.
146, okay.
I
thought it would be more.
No, because this is the issue. So I remember someone was trying to say, oh, but you can, like when we mentioned neutral trade posts before, it's like, yeah, but you can trade with your teammate. It's like, yeah, but if you trade with your teammate, you get 30% less, right? Than neutral trade posts.
Oh, okay, I didn't know.
yeah, it's heavily
that explains it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because if you do the math like that, it'd be closer to 200, right, instead. So kind of unfortunate for him. Langsneck already coming out from Jinmo. A solid answer to Mass Men Arms.
Yeah, I feel like it's a bit too early for them, though.
Yeah,
because in these, in these smaller number fights, you can just kind of pretty easily split up your units so they don't take AOE damage.
Definitely. It's like if you're at 10 plus Langsneck, then it doesn't matter that you've got like 20 men at arms. They just get cleaved down straight away.
Yeah, but now he's kind of splitting his men at arms in small groups of one.
This, though.
And then,
so Airstrike is going hard into Musafadi Warriors. That's something to keep in mind, by the way. Like it looks like, oh, the Burgrave push should be strong, but you already mentioned we'll start seeing adaptations, and I really like Jinmo and Airstrikes, because Jinmo went for the relics, so he's going to have enough gold to keep pushing Langsneck indefinitely. And then, on the other side, Core's only real option is to build Mass Men Arms, as he doesn't have as much gold. And what counters Mass Men Arms in this game? Musafadi Warriors.
Yeah, I love the strategy they went for. I really enjoyed the Ragnus as well, and they scouted this trade boom as soon as they could, and have been trying to deny it. And I wonder about, is Crackety even thinking about aging up, because otherwise it's just going to be double H3 against H3 and H2.
That's problematic. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Airstrike, he went up with the Farimba Garrison, right? So he's pushing out a lot of these units, because of course you get a lot of gold with these kind of game states in the Malians, especially if you have mid-map control. Yeah, so it's the Farimba Garrison, which is basically the old Burgrave with the change difference if you pay for everything in gold.
Right. Okay, I see. I think they're in a great spot here. The top team. I mean, he's definitely been able to collect some of the relics.
Oh my god.
And even though it's been nerfed, I mean, you know, in a Ragnarok, it's still a lot of income you're getting.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, with the way they've been successfully denying this trade, they're just really getting far ahead. And I think as HRE, well, I mean, we have two of them, but I mean the red player. You could even think about maybe going Swabia here because you completely killed this timing. I think if you manage to get a Swabia in a game like this, I think that just sort of wins the game on the spot.
Kind of feels like you just ruined Core's plan, right? If you look back in his base, yeah, he's meant to have all these cattle that are going to feel good, but instead, he's now having to pivot into Langsneck. And for those who can't remember, it's primarily gold. You pay 100 gold, I believe it's 60 food per Langsneck. And that's why Jinmo's build is so much better with the Regnants, is he's going to be able to afford that himself, while on the other side, the only way this is feasible is if Krakeny keeps slinging gold, and Krakeny can only sling gold if Musafati warriors aren't destroying all of his trade.
Yeah, and I think the top team is they've made an adaptation on the build like I was hoping to see, and I think Core and Krakeny kind of playing the same as it used to be.
I'm just getting swarmed as a result. It just feels like Core at this stage can't find a good fight to take. Lagsneck numbers are clearly and dominantly in favor of Jinmo. 17 on the battlefield. Meanwhile, on the other side, might notice that Core has no Langsneck left. I don't know how the hell they take control anymore.
Yeah, and they're kind of bleeding to death already. Like I mentioned the Swabia because I feel like that's just the, you know, that just secures the game 100%. But I mean, they're just messing up units and taking full control, which obviously works as well. Yeah, really dominant spot here.
Reminder that Krakeny is still age 2 at 12.5 minutes. In this game, the only person who hasn't castled up yet. And I mean, honestly, with trade shut down now, I don't see how he ever gets there. Like, if I
no, they're in serious trouble. They committed to this trade, and you know, it's impossible to trade now. I mean, the road is completely denied. So.
I mean, if you want to make it feel even worse, if we check in Core's base, I'm pretty sure Krakeny is still pushing cattle there. So this need for gold, which he doesn't have access to, is being heavily burdened by the fact that he's still paying 100 gold to give 500 food across to his ally. Yeah, just more cattle coming.
Yeah.
Oy, oy, oy.
I kind of take back about the Swabia. I think, you know, just keeping control like this, and then actually, instead of a Swabia, the finishing touch would be a keep drop on the sacred side, because there's just no way the enemy team is going to be able to deal with that.
I think Swabia makes more sense if it wasn't for the fact that Krakeny is playing wide for his eco gains. Like, if he's not in a trading state, then I get the play, because it's harder to dive the base, but yeah, I think they made the right call here. Villagers. Oh my god, yeah, be careful, their health. Oh no! What are you doing? Core, there's no room!
Yeah, that's Landsknechts for you.
Fun unit, at least to watch, not to play against. Most of them are going to get cleaned up by the TC, but it's a whoopty freaking doodah. The amount of idle time in the HRE base and villagers killed make it a worthwhile trade for Jinmo.
Really impressed with them. I gotta be honest, I'm not that familiar with these players, but what a great performance so far. Really impressed.
No, they're doing phenomenally well. I think I've seen Airstrike on the leaderboards before. I want to say like top 300 at one stage I've seen. I hadn't seen Jinmo before though. But Jinmo is apparently 182nd in solo ranked and is consistently in the Conqueror ranks season after season. So they are very capable players.
That makes sense, yeah.
I think coming to this, 2Good4Wololo, which is the core Krakeny team, was seed 9th, but the other side was seed 11th. So they are quite tight in terms of seeding.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, that's definitely showing here, yeah.
Just with a clearer game strategy. Maybe their opponents being a bit too predictable and allow them to cruise on through. Jinmo and Airstrike looking primed to take game 1 here. I feel like 2Good4Wololo have one more shot, one more opportunity to get out, and if that fails, they'll GG early.
Yeah, that's what I love this about RTS, is in RTS games, usually there's a strategy that comes up and people are like, okay, this is broken, it's uncounterable, etc, etc. But, you know, you can figure out the counter eventually, and as meta evolves, things keep on changing, and they're definitely showing that here. So, you know, Krakeny Core, they were still in the mindset of, okay, this is a broken strategy, we can just run this.
Oh,
but,
God.
yeah, we can see the struggle of it now.
I mean, I'm not liking what I'm seeing here. I'm just gonna be blunt about it. When you have to resort to javelin throwers this deep with no standing army, it looks pretty donezo. Yeah, I think you're right. Like the cool thing is that I think like the perfect metas are the ones where if you left it on its own for 2 years and didn't change the game, it would go in swings and roundabouts, right? Where it's like, oh, but this counters this, and this counters this, and this counters this. The crazy part is from a development level, even if you reach that point, you still end up changing the game because people get bored of the same thing. But definitely feel like we've only begun to see team games tapped into, and there's so much depth left to be explored.
I think it's pretty common that one strategy gets considered like extremely dominant, like it's better than anything else. And if you're the person that can counter that strategy, you can climb like crazy on the ladder. Like, for example, early days, like everybody was playing French, and if you could be the person to figure out how to counter French, then you were just gonna win a lot of games. So yeah, there's definitely been a lot of thought put into this. I'm pretty sure by Jinbo and Airstrike, where they just, you know, they've probably been discussing together like how do we counter this, and looks like they figured it out. At least, I mean, it's just one game, but it looks very dominant here.
Well, that means they're now one game away from victory and annihilating 2Good4Wololo's hopes of making the main event as Villager OP will take an early lead. Whew, what way to do it? I mean, I was definitely impressed. I think that there's still more to be explored that we haven't necessarily seen here, but someone I really want to highlight there is, you know, Musafadi Warriors. It's a unit that kind of gets crapped on for good reason. It tends to flop in a lot of battle scenarios. Great usage of them with their superior movement speed to shut down the trade consistently.
Yeah, they handled it very well, and they saw the trade as soon as it happened. Like as soon as the first trade was made, they had a scout on it, and that having that information was, you know, was vital as well. And something I do want to mention, I mentioned that I wasn't aware of Airstrike and Jinmo, but it's mostly because I'm not that aware of the team ladder. But apparently they're very high rated on the team ladder as well.
Yeah, I think I've definitely seen him to like Airstrike, especially is a name that I don't think it's just from the solo rank that I've seen him. I believe he's frequently like top 100. Yeah, he's 12th in the world right now, folks, on the team ladder.
Exactly. Yeah.